Hello friends, welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Tonight's episode, build a full stack Reddit clone with Firebase, Firestore, Vue.js, Vuex, and Bulma. Welcome to the show. Guess let's get right into it. If you look in the description, there is a link to this code base. Right now it's just a readme, but I'll be pushing the code up as I build it tonight. Hello and welcome everyone that's in the chat. I could say all of your names. Maybe I'll say all your names at the end, but welcome. But yes, we are going to be building a full stack Reddit clone with Firebase, Firestore, Vue.js, Vuex, and Bulma. So first, we should maybe talk about what is Firestore. And for that, we'll go to their website. So if you probably have heard, maybe, I don't know, maybe you haven't, of Firebase real-time database. This has been around for a while, but recently, maybe less than a year, maybe a year ago, the Firebase team also came out with this thing called Firestore. I like to think of Firestore as Firebase Real-Time's bigger brother. What can I say about it? How much different is? I don't know. I don't know how much different it is. The main thing is it is a database as a service. So it is a NoSQL database in the cloud. You manage all of your rules, the database itself. In the browser, you can query it from the client side. It's real time, so when data changes on the server, you see those real-time changes reflected on the client. And we're going to use it. It's going to be great. And I think enough said. Like we'll build the thing, and you'll see what it is exactly. So first thing, we are going to generate a Firebase project. Yeah, and Kaizen in the chat says Firebase is really like MongoDB. So it is a NoSQL database, but it's essentially as a service. So they provide the client library to interface with the backend database, and it's NoSQL, and also it's real time. So when things change, they change on the client side. So just real quick, I'm going to generate a Firebase project. We're going to call this Reddit clone. I'm in the US. Share your analytics. No, thank you. Let's take a quick stretch. And you may have noticed I'm rocking the new Coding Garden t-shirt, available for purchase. If you click the support link in the description, you can go to the store where you can see stickers and t-shirts and stuff. Continue. Customize data sharing. No, just create the project. There we go. Okay, I will say hello to everyone in the chat. Kaizen, welcome, hello. Sanjay, hello, welcome. JT, welcome back. James will be back after the hockey game, but hello. Merchan, hello. Andreas, welcome. Paradise Blood, Rohit. Everybody's in the house, it's great. We're gonna have a good time. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Evening Rand, hello, how's it going? Okay, so I created a project in the console, but the thing about Firebase is they have a whole suite of products. So they have they have Firestore, they have Machine Learning Kit, Cloud Functions, which is very similar to AWS like Lambda functions, authentication, static website hosting, cloud storage for like images and files, and then real-time database, which was their previous offering for database as a service. They have a lot of different products. So whenever you create a project in the console, you have the ability to enable all of these things. One of the first things I'm going to be enabling is authentication. Wayne, welcome back. Hello. Oh, and Daniel, hello, welcome. So let's set up a sign-in method. We're going to be using Google OAuth, so I'm going to click the Google button. That looks good to me. Save. And what happened? Did it enable? No? What happened? Oh, I have to I have to check the enable box, of course. Then click save. All right, we have Google Auth added to our app. Simple as that. Now we just got to hook it up to the front end. But their authentication is pretty sweet because you can basically manage your users in the cloud. They have all of those different sign-in methods: GitHub, Twitter, Facebook. You can also just do like email and password, and they manage all of the setting of cookies or tokens or whatever they use. They manage all of that for you with their SDK, and you can log in with these things. So that's what we're going to use. But before we can do that, we need to generate a Vue app. Oh yes, I already said hello. Awesome. And I appreciate that, Daniel. Okay. All right, let's generate the Vue app. So in the CLI, we're going to do a Vue create. So we are going to be using the Vue CLI 3. And just to be sure, let me make sure that I have the latest beta. I think I have like beta 15 or something like that. Not quite sure. I could do npx. I like to have it local. Oh, I got a new capture card. So hopefully the screen does not freeze. Surprisingly, no, it was the beautifulest of things. I went to Micro Center to exchange my previous capture card that was freezing, and I was upgrading to a better version that has like hardware acceleration and faster frame rate, and it was $5 more. So I only had to pay $5 more. Got a brand new card. Seems to be working great. Let me know if it goes out. But yeah. Okay, so we have the latest version. Yeah, so I think I already had beta 15, but just wanted to be sure. Now we can do a Vue create. Let's call this Reddit client. Oh, Sanjay is saying npm is broken. 0 weekly downloads for all packages. That's unfortunate. Hopefully no more screen freezes. If it happens, I'm going to be pretty mad. But let me be sure to throw a chat if it does happen. Let's manually select our features. So we definitely want Babel. We're going to be transpiling. We'll use the router. We'll use Vuex. And we'll just add Sass. We may or may not use the features of it. And we'll have a linter and format. We'll use Sass. We'll do the Airbnb config, lint on save. And we'll put all of the configs in the package JSON. Do not save this as a preset. And go. I guess we're not exactly ready for it yet, but I have actually designed the schema for our database. So we're going to be building a Reddit client. It's a Reddit clone. Initially, for the first initial features that we create, it's going to be very basic, but we have these relationships. So we have subreddits. And if you're not familiar with how Reddit works, basically there are various subreddits. Like there's r/JavaScript, and people can submit questions, they can submit links, they can submit images, and you see all of those on r/JavaScript. And then people can also upvote or downvote those specific posts, and things will be sorted based on, they have like a special algorithm. We're just going to do it sorted based on the number of upvotes. But that is r/JavaScript. But there are lots of other subreddits too. So they're basically like small little communities for asking questions, sharing links, and sharing images, like r/funny. And this is where people post a lot of different funny images. You can see this gets lots of traffic. This has like thousands of upvotes. Today was my last day at work, so I bought the team a cake. Sorry for your loss. That's funny. But the main idea is each of these different subreddits has posts associated with it. Each post has like a title, a description potentially, an image or a URL that it links to, and then each post you can click into and it has comments. And then comments can be replied to and you have comment threads. So we're going to be creating a version of this and looking at our database. Basically, we're going to have our subreddits. And I'm going to start off the app with just like a few basic subreddits. Right now, there's not going to be a way to have like a moderator of a subreddit or anything like that. It's just going to be, we'll have our default subreddits. And then a subreddit will have many posts. Posts will have image, title, description, URL. It'll have the user ID of the user that created it, and then the date it was created. A post can have many comments. So comments will have a specific post ID. And a post can also have many votes. And a comment can also have many votes. And then potentially if we get there, we can make it so that users can actually send messages to each other. So we just have like a messages collection where each message has a sender ID and a receiver ID. One thing you'll notice in this though is because Firebase Firestore is a NoSQL database, It is NoSQL, but you can still have relationships. We're going to have essentially foreign keys in our document store that relate back to some other document store, and all of these are going to be top-level collections. It is possible to nest collections in Firestore, but to have really efficient querying and to be able to do things like on a user's page, show all of the comments that user has made, show all of the posts that user has upvoted, and show all of the things that user has submitted. By having everything at the top level, it'll be a lot easier to query for that. But there is some data duplication. So every single one of these things has, well, if it needs it, has a post ID and a subreddit ID. Even though typically with a SQL database, you probably wouldn't store the subreddit ID in there. But by having that, we can now query for it using that. I will come back to this whenever we get to actually creating the collections, but I just wanted to show a high level real quick. And Andres is saying, yes, there is no more sound and screen delay. So that's also due to the new capture card. Benefits of Vue over Angular. I'll try to talk about that as we use it. And Smurf is saying a post can have many images. Reddit doesn't actually work that way. You can, however, if we look at like r/pics, you could submit a link to an album on Imager that has many images, but technically the post itself has just one URL associated with it. So that's what we'll do. But again, this is high level. We'll come back to this. Our Vue app is done. So let's go into it. We'll do an npm run serve. And away we go. So we have a basic Vue.js app. This is what you get out of the box when you use the Vue CLI. Let's look at my README. So we generated the Vue app. I guess we added authentication. Technically, on Firebase, we also need to add Firebase Firestore. So we enabled authentication. We'll handle that in a second. But also, if we click on database, we can enable Cloud Firestore beta. I guess this is important to note. Like technically, it's still in beta, and then also the Vuex library we're going to be using with it is like in alpha. So it's not totally stable yet. We should be able to build something easily, and it should work. But there are potentials. There is potential for the API to change or the library we're using to change. So just a quick note on that. So I'll get started on Cloud Firestore beta. And this right here. Pretty much every tutorial and most videos that I've watched in setting up an app with Firebase Firestore tell you to start it in test mode. But the thing is, a lot of those tutorials and articles like just don't ever tell you to put locked mode back on, and so your database is open to the world. In this tutorial, we are going to start in locked mode, and we're going to gradually build out our rules as we need to. So basically, to start with, no one can read or write our database. And as we start to build out the app, we'll add new rules to allow that to happen. And yeah, this is just important because if you build an app and you leave it in test mode, your entire database is open to the world. And the way you set up Firebase, it actually has like your client key in the client source code. So if somebody got access to that, they could literally wipe all of your data. We're going to start in locked mode. Go. Lots of chats happening. While this is spinning, let me answer a few questions. So Daniel is asking about, like, I guess you did ask about Vue versus Angular. It does have rapid development. It's also has a very short learning curve, small learning curve. It's really easy if you've never used Vue.js before to get up and running with Vue.js. And it's also very simple, but you can do complex things with it. So all of those things that you mentioned. And Rodrigo is asking, do I plan to build all this in the live stream? I know if you tuned into the 8-hour stream, it did not happen, but I have this here. I'm going to absolutely keep streaming until we're up to here. So basically, we'll have the ability to add a new post to a subreddit. We'll be able to upvote and downvote posts. We'll be able to order the posts by their actual upvote score. We'll be able to add a comment or multiple comments to a post, and then you'll be able to see the user's profile, which will show what they submitted, what was upvoted, and what comments they made. So this is what we're going to do tonight. And then I have extra things. Maybe we'll get to it, maybe we won't, but the ability to edit a post, that's pretty important. The ability to edit a comment, the ability to search and filter posts, the ability to upvote and downvote comments, the ability to reply to comments. So we could actually do like nested commenting. Everything we're going to do here is going to have client-side code for accessing the database. But when you're dealing with larger applications, you actually do need some sort of server-side component. We're going to be calculating the score on the client side. But one thing you might do, especially as your app grows, is have some sort of cloud function that computes the score for every single post, so it doesn't have to be calculated every time on the front end. So that's a potential stretch. And then also the ability to delete a post, because one tricky thing about that is you would also want to delete all of the associated comments. And because of the rules we set up, you can't delete comments that aren't your own. So that would need something like a cloud function to be able to delete those. But tonight we're going to do this. And yes, I'm going to try to deploy it. Everyone in the chat can try to add things. It should be fun. Let me just catch up on the chat real quick. Boop, 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 boop. Thanks, Rodrigo. Don't forget to hit that like button. Okay, so cool. So we generated our Firestore database, and this is it. We're gonna be working with auth. So one thing we need is a collection to store our users. Now, Firebase auth handles the OAuth flow and handles logging in the user, but you'll notice in our relational diagram, our collections need to reference a specific user. And we also want to be able to like have a user profile. So we're actually going to have our own users collection as well. So I'm just going to create that collection right now. Give it a name, users, next. I guess we could give it a nothing. I really just want the collection to exist, so that way we can add to it from the client side. Though I'm not actually sure. Kaizen may know this. If you write to a collection that doesn't exist, does it get created? Let me know. Okay, so we have that basic collection. Now let's get started with, so we've got our strict rules. Now let's add Firebase auth. We'll take a quick stretch. Yeah, Amal, so we are going to be using Firebase Firestore. I did like a very introductory video to GraphQL a few weeks ago. I want to do one where I actually put a GraphQL API on top of a database or on top of an existing REST API. Oh, Kaizen says it does? Okay, cool. So I'm just going to delete that, and then we'll see it get created when we do it from the front end. Gone. Okay, nothing's in our database. Cool. All right, let's just make our Vue app have. Let's get it situated. So in our app.vue, it is linking to like home and about. Let's just get rid of that. We'll just like get rid of this nav. Let's get rid of all the default stylings. If we look in views, I guess there is home and about. There's this hello world component. We don't really want that. Let's get rid of it. And then if we look in home, it's trying to use the hello world component. So we'll get rid of that. And right now, we're just going to have like an H1 that says home. So if we go back to the browser, home, cool. We also should go ahead and add Bulma. So I've decided that's what I'll use tonight. I'm not totally familiar with it, but it is a CSS framework. We'll just do a bit of doc digging tonight. Let's install it. If you're familiar with like Bootstrap or Materialize, very similar. It just has its own flavor of doing and way of doing things. We want to install it, download. Nope, don't want to download it. I should just be able to do npm install. Getting started. Here we go. npm install Bulma. That's what I want. Oh, and actually, I'm going to be using Vuexfire. So actually, I'll install that because Vuexfire is a Vue.js wrapper on top of the Bulma library. So this is actually what I want to install. npm install Vuexfire or Bufy? I don't know. You tell me. Go. Oh, Am I in the right directory? I think I am. Yeah, Andreas is asking, does anyone know, is Firebase Firestore free, and how many times could I query the database before I hit a paywall? They eventually, I don't know how many times, but eventually you do have to pay. But just for like simple development like this, it is mostly free. Okay, so we've got Vuexfire. Let's look at their documentation on how to set it up. So we installed it. Then we need to import it and import the CSS. So in our main.js of Vue.js, right here, we're going to bring in Vuexfire. We're going to bring in the CSS. This is a new feature of the latest version of VS Code. Notice how this line is grayed out. It's because I'm not using that variable yet. But what I need to do is say view.use Vuexfire. And then it doesn't gray out anymore because I'm actually using it. So that's pretty cool. And so we're bringing in all of the components. You can bring them in one at a time if you want to. All right, so we got that added. And let's see what it looks like. We should get some basic, okay, we get some basic font right there. That's great. Let's go ahead and just add like a nav bar. So the thing about Vuexfire is they've created components for things that have like interaction and like need to be bound. So something like a nav bar actually isn't in Vuexfire. You would still grab that from Bulma. So if we go to components, let's go to nav bar. I want one like this one. Let's use this one. So in our app.view, right above the router view, we are just going to throw that nav bar. Go back to the browser. Hey, it's there. I believe they have classes for making it a different color. Let's use one of those. Yes. Let's use black. I like black. Is dark, I think is what we want. Hey, oh, maybe not. Is black is what we want. Cool. And if we look at the header, where is the word Bulma? Oh, it's because that's an image. We just want this to say, what should we call our Reddit clone? Maybe there should be a poll or something like that. Coding Garden Link Share. We'll come up with something more original, but for now, that's what's going to happen. And this will just link back to the homepage like that. Cool. Hey, look at that. We got a basic nav bar. Okay, let's start working on auth. So when you generate a Vue app with Vuex, it comes with a very basic store. And we're actually going to be using submodules. So our user and auth information will be in one submodule. All of the data of the app, like subreddits and links, subreddits and posts and things like that, will be in a separate module. So we'll do that, but we actually need to install Firebase now. So if we look at our README, let's take a look at Firebase for Google sign-in. Cool. I apologize if I don't keep up with chat. You guys are very chatty tonight, and that's okay. Keep talking. It's great. Actually, if somebody needs something or needs to say something interesting, throw a message on Discord. I should see that alert. Okay, so we need to add Firebase to our JavaScript project. First thing. We could bring it in from the CDN. We don't want to do that though. We actually just can npm install it because Vue.js is built with Webpack. So I'm pretty spacey today. I worked hard today. I did a lot of yard work. Pulled a bunch of weeds. 2 garbage bags full of weeds. So that will install Firebase. And then we actually need to init it. So for that, I'm going to create a file in the source directory called firebase.js. Inside of here, we're going to import Firebase from Firebase. And if we go to our console, we should be able to find our information. We go to Project, Overview, click on Add Firebase to your web app, and boom, it gives us exactly what we need. And the interesting thing about this is you can see my API keys right now, but I've locked down the database. You cannot write to my database. Okay. So we will just paste this right in. And let me just throw ESLint in there, get some single quotes. Cool. And I think that's it. We also, so now that we have Firebase in our app, we're going to need to require this file in somewhere so that Firebase actually gets loaded. We also need to add the Firebase auth module. Where can I find that? Authentication. Do I need to install it separately? Web. I don't think this is what I want. Let me look at the Firebase repo real quick, because I believe they have just a specific auth module that I can bring in. Let's see. JS SDK. NPM package. There is a Firebase auth, and I want it. Where can I find it? Firebase /auth? Maybe I have access to it. Okay, we have Firebase installed. Let's just try to do this now. So we're going to create a provider. And we'll actually do this in the Vuexfire. So Firebase.js has all of the configuration and everything. So I'm just going to import this file into our main file so that that code actually gets run. So I'm just going to import Firebase. Actually, I will export it. And then in here, we'll import Firebase from the Firebase file. Cool. Yeah, so that's the code that I plan to use, Kaizen. I just thought I had to bring in a separate auth package, but I guess not. So here's what we need to do, though. Let's create a specific Vue store. So right now, our store isn't just in a single file. Let's do this. Let's create a folder. We'll call it store. And then we'll move this store.js into there. Yes, move it. Automatically, ooh, this new feature of VS Code. So yes, please update my imports. Okay, cool. And now I'm going to rename this to be index.js. Yes, please update my imports. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I used to have this when I worked in C# because it was like statically typed, but VS Code detected that I moved my file and automatically updated my imports. So like in main.js, wherever it imported the store, it automatically updated that import. That's awesome. Okay, so now our store is in here, and our root store actually isn't going to have anything on it. We're just going to say modules, and we're going to create a module that is going to store auth. So let's create a new file. We'll just call this auth.js. And in here, we need some initial state. This is just going to be an object that has a user that is initially just an empty object, and we'll have something like is logged in that is initially false. Cool. And then we need some actions. It's going to be an object. And one action will be log in. It's access to the context. And this is where we're going to do this. So we need to bring Firebase into this specific module. So I'm going to import Firebase from @/Firebase. That should work. In a Vue.js app, is alias to the source directory. So this should bring in this file, which is exporting Firebase. And now that we have Firebase in here, when we call login, we're going to create our provider, which is our Google Auth provider. And then we can add scopes if we want to. We don't. But this is where we'll do sign in with pop-up. So right after that, we'll say sign in with pop-up, and we'll pass the provider. Notice that this is a promise, so we can await it. So let's say result is await that. And because we're awaiting that, we need to make login an async function. And then you do get access to the access token, but also result.user is there. So right now, let's just log result.user. Night, Daniel. Thanks for stopping in. Oh, wow. It's pretty late there. Thanks for stopping in. Okay. So login will do this, and then it'll just log it to the console. So now we need to make this state and actions available elsewhere. So this auth module will export an object. We're going to say namespace is true. Whoa, not that. True. And then we'll pass in the state, and we'll pass in the actions. Like that. And now we're going to bring this auth module into our main store here. So let's import auth from the auth file right there. And under modules, we're going to specify auth. Oh, and that's a good call. Kaizen is saying actions in Vue.js, Vuex are the only thing that can be async. Mutations and getters have to be synchronous. They cannot be async. Okay, so we now have our auth module defined here. What's this complaining about? This is exporting. What's this complaining? Oh, it needs a new line. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we have this basic auth module that's going to log us in to Google. So we basically want to bring that action into like a login button or something like that. So let's do this on our home page. We'll just add a simple little button. Let's look at, does Vuexfire give us a button? We might have to just use Bulma for that. Elements, button. Okay, let's get a nice red button because it's login with Google. So right below the home, we're just going to say login with Google. Let's see what that looks like. Cool. Let's, on our app.view, let's give our router view a class of container. Like so. Take a quick stretch. Cool. And by doing that, it pushes it in just a little bit. Let's get rid of just the word home here. We're just going to have a login with Google button. Okay, so when we press this, we actually want to call that action. So we need to bring that action into this component. So let's do that. For that, we're going to use map actions provided by Vuex, like so. And what this allows you to do is take any action defined in the Vuex store and put it on your methods, so you can actually call it inside of this component. So here, I'm just going to say methods are map actions. Because we're using submodules, we need to tell it, please look in the auth submodule, and I would like the login action, please. And this is going to put a method called login on this component that we can actually invoke. Daniel, welcome to the stream. Hello, hello. I do have some discords. Let me just double check real quick. A good question from Paradise Blood. When you install a package with npm, do you have to set like a virtual env? Like if you're familiar with Python, you don't. So the way npm install works is with a package JSON. So when you do an npm install, it automatically adds a dependency in this file, and every single node project has its own node modules folder. So every project you do npm install inside of is going to have all of your dependencies right in there. So in Node, there are no concepts of like different environments. Essentially, every time you install something, you're just installing a new copy right there. Cool. Appreciate the questions. Cool. Okay, so we just brought that login method. Now let's make it so that when we click this login button, it calls that action. All right, so we'll do a at click. So that's a Vue.js thing. Login. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to do some basic styles right now. I'll do the basic styles in app.vue because I want this router view to have just like a little bit of margin on top of it. So let's call this, can I call it view? Let's call it main. So here, the thing with the class main will have a margin top of like 2ems. Decent. All right, moment of truth. When I click this login button, what will happen? Hey! Oh, okay, we got a pop-up. It's asking me to log in with Google. I can choose my account. I will choose it. And then we get a user logged to the console. How long have I been streaming? Okay, I guess a while. 30 minutes in, we have login working. Cool. So now it's just a matter of putting the user on the store, then saving that user to the database. So let's do this. We'll create a mutation in our auth module to set the user. So we'll say our mutations is an object. We'll say set user. And this will take in the state and the user that we're going to set. And basically, we want to just say state.user equals that user. But we're also going to be saving it to the database, so we'll do that there. But before we pass it in, we want to just grab the properties that we want. So if we look at our model here, a user needs an ID, a name, an image, and then when they were created at. So if we look at what we got back, we got display name. We can use that for name. We did get also photo URL. We can use that for image. And then UID is their user ID or unique ID. So we can use that as well. So in Vuex, if you want to call a mutation, you say context.commit. Oh, wait, sorry. No, you don't. Do you get access to commit? Yeah. You do commit with the mutation you want to call. We're going to call set user. Rodrigo says, log in 10 minutes if you forget all the questions I was answering and stuff like that. Appreciate it. Cool. Okay, so you call set user, and then we're going to pass in the user that we actually want to set. I'm doing this from memory. I think this is how it works. I might have to go look at the Vuex docs real quick. So we want a name, and that's going to be, let's call this, instead of result, let's call this profile, because this is what we're getting back from Google. So we'll say name is profile.display name. And then ID is profile, let's put that first, profile.uid. And then image is, Kaizen donated to, thanks dude. Yay for Vue, Firestore, and Firebase. Yes. And you might actually give me some tips later on when I'm working on the rules. I know what I need to do, but it might be of help. I appreciate you, man. Image is profile.photo URL. So if we look here, URL is all caps. Display name is like that. And I think that's all we need. What else did we want? ID, name, image, and I guess created at. Let's double check. ID, name, image, and created at. Cool. Created at For this, Firebase has a built-in method for getting a timestamp. Let's look that up. Firestore server-side timestamp. We might actually just look directly at the Firebase docs. Search timestamp, server timestamp. That's what I want. What? This is of no help. How do I do it with JavaScript? Firebase, JavaScript, server timestamp. Firebase. That's Firebase. That's not Firestore. Here we go. You won't get a consistent server-side timestamp with the JS date. Instead, send the server timestamp from the SDK. Firebase.firestore.fieldvalue.server timestamp, and that will give you right here, right now, according to the server. Okay, that's going to set the user in the store, and we'll also. I mean, technically, this mutation, we can do multiple things. Because what I want to do right here also is just state.isLoggedIn is true. But why I'm hesitant is because a lot of times mutations should only do one thing. I'm going to leave that like is, as is. All right, let's see what happens. And also, well, no, we should be able to see in the Vue DevTools, we can see what we actually set in the store. Okay, something's off. This should be a semicolon, and we need to export our mutations also. All right. Oh, one thing, looks like you're using... No, I guess I'm not getting an error. There will be an error about something about timestamps, but we'll have to fix that later. Log in with Google. Should be pretty instant. And then when it closes, if we look at the Vue DevTools and we look at Vuex, we have a user object, and all of those things are undefined. And that didn't work. Filled value.server timestamp. What just happened? Am I doing this right? Let me look at the Vuex docs real quick. For mutations. So they take in the state, but also if we look at actions, they get access to the context. Ah, okay. That's what. Well, yeah, well, then it would be context.commit, so that should be okay. We're calling set user. Let's log what we're getting right here. User. Yep, we're not getting anything, so apparently I got this wrong. So let's log the profile up here. It might be like a nested property that we have to go into. Dot user. Yes, dot user. Okay. So let's do this. Let's grab the user from that, and then we'll say user like that. And I do have Firebase in here. Oh, okay. When I save it to the database, it should grab the server-side time whenever we actually save it to the database, which we're about to do, and we're very, very close to doing. Okay, so when I log in with Google, that happens. Okay, now this is the thing that I want to save to the database. It has an ID, an image, and a name. And it has, well, it should have, yeah, it has created at. Cool. Let's actually save this to the database. So for that, we need a reference to the document store. So if we look in the docs, I think I have a link to it. Not just yet. Cloud Firestore, adding and managing data, add data. So if you do Firebase, I believe it's firebase.firestore.db. Let's see, getting started. Yeah, firebase.firestore will actually create your DB instance. So let's put that in a file and then bring that in. So like at the root of our project here, we'll create a new file. We'll call this db.js. This is going to just export that, and we'll just import Firebase from our Firebase file that we defined. Cool, so this is our actual connection to the database. So let's require that into our auth module. So we're gonna import db from /db. And now we want to actually save the user. So let's do this. We should actually do the saving inside of an action before we commit it in the store. So we're going to let's rename this profile. Well, user. Let's call this set user. So we're creating this object, and this is the thing that we actually want to write to the database. So to write it to the database, we are going to do db.collection users.add set user. So that will actually add that user to our backend database. Rohit, $2. I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for Reddit clone. Vue.js, CJ, you rock, man. Appreciate it, man. Okay, so that should add it to the database, but we should get an error because... All right, so now when we try to log in, it's going to attempt to add us to the database. Things are breaking, your app may break, but also error, missing or insufficient permissions. And actually, now that I think about it, we don't want to just add them. We want to do... a specific document, because we want to set the document with user.id to be that actual user. So that way we can query them by ID. Okay, but either way, now we get a permission error because we can't write to the database. So we need to update that. Let's take a quick break. Oh yeah, and Kaizen is mentioning I need to update my config with the timestamp stuff. So let's get that error again so that I can update my config. And the error says, whenever you create an instance of Firestore, you need to do settings and pass in timestamps and snapshots equal true. So in here, basically like right when we create this thing, we want to pass in that object. And that should fix that error. Wait, what? Oh. I think I need to create it first. db is that. And then db. What was it? Was it db.settings? Okay. Let's just see the error one more time. Okay. Firebase.firestore, which is what we're doing here. So I actually want to store that in a variable. Oh, and then say .settings before we export it. Okay. So we'll say db is that thing, and then db.settings will be that object time. Please don't go away. Timestamps and snapshots. There we go. Is true. And then we'll export db. Okay, that should get rid of that error. And now we have to deal with the permission error. The thing is, though, we're about to just start moving. We're about once we can write to this database, we're going to be writing things like crazy. It's going to be easy. Okay, missing or insufficient permissions. So we now need to update our rules in the database. So if we go back over here, go to database, and then let's go to rules. And you'll notice by default, there's this match here. So this matches every single possible document collection that you can create. And it says read and write is false. Here's what we'll do. We're going to allow read on everything. Like if you've ever used Reddit, you can see everything without being logged in. You can see user profiles, you can see posts and comments. So we're going to say allow read true. So wait, how does that work? We'll say allow read colon if true. Yes. So now everyone has read access to the database. But now we need to set a specific write rule for the users collection. So here's what we'll do. We'll say match against users / user ID. Throw that in curlies. So when an update, oh, sorry, that goes, no, sorry. Users, and then this is the parameter. There we go. So when a query is coming in for users at some user ID, what we're going to say is allow write if the currently logged in user's ID is equal to that given user ID. There we go, and Kaizen has it in the chat. If request .auth.uid, and I'm gonna do UID is equal to user ID, like that. So Rodrigo's saying so many imports and exports, making your head spin. Sorry about that. I will say this though, like once I'm finished with this and push the code up, you can kind of like take your time, dive through it, and feel free to like ask any questions in the Discord. I can definitely help out. But I do appreciate that. So, but basically what I'm saying is from Kaizen, because his rules were a little bit different. But what I'm saying is anybody can read, even if you're not logged in, and then you can write to the users collection if you're trying to write to an ID that is your given ID of the logged in user. So the beautiful thing about this is inside of these rules, you have access to the logged in user. And it's already integrated because we're using Firebase authentication. So this rule says you can only write the user that has your ID. Publish. Okay, now let's try to log in again. It does say it takes some time to propagate. From what I've seen, it's pretty quick. Log in with Google. No permissions errors. And if we look at the console, at our data, we have a users collection. We have a user. The user's in the database. I gotta play a sound. Okay. And the crowd goes wild. Thank you. Okay. But what's great about this is our database is actually locked down. Like, users can only update their own properties. You can't update the properties of another user based on this simple rule. Very cool. So now that we're logged in, we should keep track of things. Yeah, and Kaizen says it in the chat. All that validation, so few codes. It's not that much code to make it all happen. Okay, so what we should do now is, for one, we'll like redirect to a list of subreddits when they're logged in. And if they're logged in, we'll show like their user name and image up in the top here. So I do have a link in the README. So we added Firebase auth. We did update the rules. But one thing we can do, I believe, this here. So we can keep track of when the auth state changes. And I believe when the Firebase SDK loads up, it will recognize that we're already logged in. So like if we come back to this page later, we'll already be logged in. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to run this code right inside. I guess we'll create a new file for it. Let's create an auth file at the root. This is going to bring in, it's going to need to bring in Firebase, but it's also going to need to bring in the store. So we're going to import Firebase from Firebase, and we're going to import the store from the store. Now, basically, we're saying when the auth state changes, if we have a user, then we can actually call our store. So we can say, I see. This is where. Okay, I'm gonna have to move my code around a little bit. All right, and Andreas. All right, everyone, going to bed. See you later. Have a good night. Kaizen is saying create an auth file, add it as a Vue plugin, then Vue.use it. Because then I would have access to the store, huh? I'm not totally comfortable doing that, so I'm gonna keep moving with this. Okay, so here we can basically commit something. So we can say with the auth/set user, we want to set the user. And if no user is signed in, then we'll stay store.commit. We'll create a new action like auth/ let's do this. We'll set user with null. We'll detect that inside of the mutation, and then we will, if it's null, set logged in to false and set the profile to an empty object. Okay, here's the thing though. Notice earlier in our store, we were directly calling this commit and we were like creating the user here. Now that we have this other thing that's like listening for it, we actually want to do this inside of the mutation so that, I guess technically, we could actually, we could move this code into the login state changed. Let's do that. So now we no longer are going to commit anything, and we're not going to pull anything out. But when the auth state changes, we have access to this stuff. So let's grab user, and user is actually going to be user.profile. Let's call it this. This is profile. And user is destructured from profile. I guess I could write the destructuring in the function, but I don't know how destructuring would work if it doesn't exist. Or seeding post seeds, or seeding could be an idea of something. Seedling. Oh, like a name for for the app itself. Seedlings? I like it, because we're here at the coding garden. Okay, now that we're doing this here, whenever the auth state changes, this will actually save the user to the DB and then commit that change to the as a mutation. But now we actually need to bring the DB into this file instead. And now our mutation logic needs to change a little bit. So we'll say if user, then do this. Else state.user is an empty object, and state.isLoggedIn is false. Okay. So, and then now we don't need any of this. This should work exactly the same way, but essentially what's happening over here is this thing is just listening for any time auth state changes. So that way, when we do like a login by clicking the button, this will actually get called and will actually set the user. But when the page first loads, this will also get called because the user is already logged in and like a cookie is stored. One thing is though, we just need to require this file in somewhere so that it actually gets run. So in our main.js, we're just going to require in the auth file. Okay, let's see what I broke. Cannot read property UID of undefined. Let's actually log what is the profile. Interesting. Okay, so sometimes when we auth, it has a nested property called user, but other times when we auth, all of the data is there. Okay, let's do this. Let's call this user. This is weird. Okay, we'll say if user.user, then user equals user.user, I think. Let's see what happens. Okay, so when the page first loads, if we actually look at the Vuexfire, that's not right. Oh, we don't want to pass in user, we want to pass in set user, that's why. Okay, let's try again. Okay, when the page first loads, our user object now has that stuff inside of it. I believe auth also has like a logout method. For whatever reason, I always just spend so long on auth. Question from Pedro, what does it mean to have the curly braces around user and profile? I actually got rid of it, but that is destructuring. It would be the same thing as, so if you say like const user equals profile, that's basically saying there is a user property on profile. I want you to take that and put it in its own variable. So this code right here is exactly equivalent to const user equals profile.user. These two are exactly the same. Destructuring is just new syntactic sugar. Okay, so that worked. Let's make sure that it works when I click the button too. And I think that's why I had that like funky logic. Okay. Cool. Let's add a logout button. Log out. Quick break. I guess I have been streaming for 1 hour. Perfect. We're like 1 hour in. We have all the setup. Now it's. I'm also telling myself it's gonna go fast. We're gonna build this app. Firebase authentication. I believe there's a logout method. Firebase auth logout JavaScript. Is it sign out? Oh, I'll search for sign out then. Web auth state persistence. Auth is a B. Before we had unauth, but it's old. You can see everything related to the new API. There we go. This is what I wanted. Okay. So let's create another action for signing out. We'll call it logout, because that's just what I prefer. And one last thing is we'll do some error handling here because we're using async await, we actually need to wrap this in a try catch. But now we have a logout action, so let's also bring that in. For now, I'm just going to put it on the home page, just because. Just to make sure that it works, and then we'll move it up to the nav bar. So because I created that action, now I can just bring that in to the home page as well. auth is definitely easy to get wrong, or at least like you find yourself doing a lot of debugging till you get it right. So if I click log out, look at that. That method that we set to listen for logout is still there. So when it happens, it does the auth set user with nothing. So if you're not familiar with Vuex, you have like this time travel debugging. So when the page first loaded, set user got called, and that was the actual logged in user, like based on the cookie. And then when I click that button, set user got called, and we set it to an empty object. Beautiful, beautiful. And if I refresh the page, they're not currently logged in, so the store is the way it is. Okay, here's what we do. In our navbar on the homepage is actually where we're going to be using login. Well, we can have login on login will be on the homepage. We'll keep that. But on the navbar is where I actually want to put logout. So like if you're already logged in, then you'll see the logout button, and you'll see your face and your name. So in app.vue, let's give this thing a script because it doesn't have it. And we need to bring in map actions, and we'll also bring in map state because we'll get access to the user object inside of here, so we can actually show their name in the navbar. We'll bring this in from Vuex, and we'll say methods are map actions for auth, and we want the log out method. I guess technically we could bring the login one too. I think that's what we'll do. If they're not logged in, show a login button. If they are, show a log out button. And then we also want to bring in the current user and the property whether or not they are logged in. So we'll say computed is map state, and the things that we want from auth state are user and is logged in. So the way map state works is you tell it submodule and you tell it the things you want from state. So on our auth state, we have user and is logged in. So this is actually going to, sorry, we are here, is going to take those two things and make them computed properties on this component so we can actually use them. So now over here, let's add the user icon. Let's look at the Bulma docs for how exactly you can put things at the end of a navbar. If we look at components, navbar, we want something like this. Stuff on the far right hand side. Navbar end is what we want. I think that's about where we want it. Too many divs. Well, I think it's that one. We'll see. Actually, we won't have the hamburger. Did I copy the right amount of divs? I think I did. Cool. And a lot of stuff happening here. They are using font awesome icons. Technically, we could bring those in. I'm not going to bring them in. Data, social action. Don't need any of that. We just want, really, button is danger. This will say log out, log in with Google. Yes, so question from Kaizen, will you have more computed props? And if so, how will you adjust your property? If I have more computed props, then I will use object spread. And I can show that really quick. Because technically, because I only have these computed props right now, I can do it like that. But if I had more, I could set this to an object. I could spread that and then define my own things here, like this. And now we have access to user and is logged in and anything else that we define there. I might end up doing that. Don't know if I'll need to, but I might. Okay, log in with Google, and then this button will say log out. And when you click this button, we should call log out. And when you click this button, you should call login. Cool. They're not on the end though. Oh, I put it inside of navbar brand, that's why. This thing needs to go outside of there, like that. Hey, okay. And let's just get rid of that login on the home page. Leave it there for now, but now we have the logic. If you're logged in, show the log out button. So on here, we're gonna say vif is logged in. And on this, we're gonna say vif not logged in. So now we only see one, because right now we're not logged in. And if we click login with Google, we log in and it shows both of them why. Oh. Is it called is logged in? That's why. Both of these need to be is logged in, not is logged in. There we go. So when you're logged in, it doesn't show the login button. Cool. All right, let's show the user right there. I think Bulma has something for like avatars or something like that. Elements, image. This could work. Can you do like an image with like a caption below it? Let's just do this. We'll do the image 32 by 32. Let's see. So right next to logout, let's throw the user.image right there. Look at that. Let's just get rid of the class. The default size should be small enough, I think. Horrible, horrible, horrible. This could also be because we're inside of here. What happens if I put it there? I think it's because it's a flexbox. let's see the parent. So field is grouped, has a display of flex. Navbar item does not. Let's put this figure outside of the group. Stretchy face CJ. It's still a flexbox. Here's what we'll do, because we really need like a wrapper, right? We need to, because we want to put like the name and the image. So here's what we'll do. We'll have like a div, and that will have not a div. I guess technically we could use a figure. Let's do a section, and then we could have a fig caption. That's a thing, right? And this will have the user.name. And let's give this section a class of like avatar. And avatar will have display flex direction column, align items centered. Broken. Property method logged in is not defined. Where am I using logged in? Should be is logged in. A little custom CSS won't bite. What if we did a span? Oh, well, I think the issue is like the class control is of display flex. Let's see. Control. Because technically I want these to be on the same line. What if we give this a class? Image, well, let's call this logged in. Logged in? Yeah. And what if we made, one of the things we make this display flex direction row? Because that should put those two things side by side. It does. Okay. Can't you do width X and height auto? Let's try it. Oh, that's why. Dot image, this class that I put on it gives it a width of 100%. Cool. I'm okay with that. I'm gonna take a quick sip of water, or of yerba mate. The built-in class had 100% width. I probably got a bunch of nested things that don't need to be nested anymore, but that's okay. All right, we're showing the user. One thing we want to do though is, if you're on the home page and you are logged in, let's like redirect to the list of all subreddits. Kaizen, you're right there with me. I appreciate you, man. So let's create a new route. In here, we don't need about. That was just like when we generated the app. Let's get rid of that. Delete. Move about to the trash. In our router file, let's just have a route called subreddits. Name will be subreddits, and the component will be subreddits, which is what we will define. So we're going to define a view called subreddits that's in the views folder. So let's create a new file, subreddits.view. Simple little template. Right now we'll just have an h1 subreddits. Let's take a quick stretch. To damn. I like that, Pedro. Okay, so now we have subreddits. Here's what we need to do. In our router, let's have some guards here. So before entering the home route, if you're logged in, let's send you to the subreddits. And if you go to subreddits, you don't have to be logged in. That's okay. Because we said everything was read-only. Earlier, when I was looking it off, actually, if we look at the link that I have in the README for managing users, pretty sure, yeah, there's just a way of grabbing the current user. Because basically what we want to do is in our router, no we don't. After logging in, let's just redirect to the subreddits page. So immediately when the user gets set, we're going to redirect to the subreddits page. I believe on our, let's think. Can we pull this router in and just say router.push? I think so. Let's try it. Okay, so in here, when the user changes, we're just going to redirect to the subreddits page. So let's see if I can do this. So let's import the router from the router file. And then after they are logged in, we're going to do a router.push to /subreddits. Hey! Cool. So yeah, you are seeing set route guards, but I think technically we don't really want to, because I am going to make it, everyone can read everything. So you can go to the subreddits page and view the subreddits. You don't necessarily have to be logged in. I think I'm okay with this for now. Okay. Now let's create some subreddits. So for this, we're going to create a separate submodule for our store, and we're going to use Vuexfire. So this is the thing I was talking about that's in alpha right now. So Vuexfire, on the master branch, is for Firebase. But if you look under their branches, they have a Firestore branch, which is currently in development, which allows you to integrate Vuex with Firestore. And what's great is you can sync collections. So you can have state that basically just watches for changes in the database. And when anything changes, your UI will automatically update. And that all gets hooked up for you with Vuexfire. So we're going to use this. It's currently in 3 alpha 5. By the time you watch this, it might be in a later alpha. It might be have total breaking changes, but this is what we're going to use. So I'm going to do an install of Vuexfire at next. I'm in the client folder, npm install that. All right. So now I have Vuexfire. Let's look at their page to see how to get that set up. You need to bring in Firebase mutations and put that at the root of your store. So in the root of our store, we're going to bring in Firebase mutations. And because we don't have any other mutations defined, we can just say mutations are Firebase mutations. Why is this crying? I'm getting some weird issues with like imports. Like I think technically everything's working, but like for a split second, things break and then my linter goes out of control. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So we set up the mutations. And then let's see. We do need to view.use it, I'm pretty sure. The thing about this, it is very early alpha right now. They don't have, at least what I've found, they don't have any specific documentation for it, but you can look in the examples directory. And if you take a look at index.html, everything is all in one file, but it kind of shows you how to set it up. So they're doing kind of what we did, but they're doing it all in one file. And then they are using Vuex. They're bringing in Firebase actions and mutations. I guess I thought you had to do like view.use Vuexfire, but I guess not. Yeah, I think that's all we got to do. Okay. So now what we want is we're going to create a submodule that has an array of subreddits. So let's do this. Really, this is going to have all of our data. I think we're going to have the subreddits in here. We're going to have the posts. We'll have comments and votes. What should we call this? I mean, we could call it data. I mean, and technically we could create more submodules, but each one is going to be so minimal that I kind of want to put it all in one place. Derek is asking, when is the linter set to run? In VS Code, it runs all the time. Like anytime code changes, it'll automatically run. Let's just call this subreddits. Yeah, subreddits.js. So we're going to have some state. We will have subreddits, which is an empty array. And the thing about Vuex, what is it called? Vuexfire is your state you do need to initialize with some initial data. So we're going to initialize subreddits to be an empty array. And then you have your actions. And we're going to have an action that's like init. And this will basically fire everything off and set up our state. So we look at their example. They have this. So you bring in Firebase action from Vuexfire. Import from, like that. And then you say init is Firebase action that gets access to the Firebase ref, like this. And this is where you bind your Firebase data to your actual state. So what we're going to say is bind Firebase ref subreddits to the DB collection called subreddits, which doesn't exist yet, but we're going to seed it with some data. Like that. And then this will export an object that has state and actions. I think I'm missing a parenthesis. There we go. And we need to bring DB into this file. So let's import DB from @/DB. Okay, so we've got the database in here. When we call the init action, it is going to bind the collection on Firestore called subreddits to this array of subreddits. Cool. So now on the subreddits page, we're going to bring in this action and this state so we can list all of the subreddits. So got ourselves a script. We're going to do import map state and map actions from Vuex. And on the computed, we're going to set that to map state. This time our submodule is called subreddits. Oh, we'll have to add that too. I don't think we did that yet. And the state that we want is just called subreddits with 1B. And then our methods are going to be map actions. We want subreddits. And we want the init action. Okay. So we have that, but we need to make sure that we bring this file into our root store. So let's bring in subreddits from subreddits. Oh, and we need to make sure to make it namespaced too. So we'll put that under modules, but when we export this, we'll say namespaced is true. Okay. So let's just do this. On in the view right here, let's just show subreddits as whatever it comes back as. And we'll have in the mounted method, so when this component is mounted, we want to call init, this.init. So that will bind it, and then our computed property subreddits will be there, and then we should be able to see it. This needs to be wrapped in an element. Let's do like a section. All right, what do we got? Empty array. Cool. So if we look at my README, we want to add like a few subreddits that are just going to exist for now. Right now, we're not really going to have a way of creating new subreddits. So let's do this. On Firebase, we'll create a new collection, call it subreddits. And we'll generate an ID. And so we'll say ID is that. And we mainly want this because we want to have the ID stored inside of the document. You'll see in a second that the way this is stored, you don't necessarily have access to the ID when you're querying. So we'll store that there. We also want a name. So we'll do like general. Let's look at our schema. So a subreddit has ID, name, description, and created at. ID, name, description value anything that doesn't match the other category. No. General links and discussion here. That's the description. Cool. And then we need a created at field. If you've ever used Reddit, on subreddits it says like, this subreddit has been a community for X years. So using our created at property, we could detect that. And I guess I haven't shown this yet. You have access to different data types in the database. We're going to make this timestamp, and the time is just right now. So here at, I think this is a 24-hour clock. 21, wait, 9, yeah, 20. I don't know 21-hour clock. 21:55:00. If it's wrong, that's okay. Save it. So now we have this subreddits collection. Oh, I was right. Look at me. And then it has one document inside of it that has the name general and its description. Cool. Let's add another document to this specific collection. And really what I'm doing right now is like seeding the database, right? Like we want some basic subreddits to start off with. Oh, but here's the other thing. Because I just added that subreddit. So because we're showing the array of subreddits in the view, it's just automatically there. So as we add things to the database, we're going to see them popping up here. But let's go ahead and seed this stuff. So we also want r/JavaScript. So we're going to be adding a document to the subreddits collection. Let's generate an ID. Say the ID is that. We'll say the name is JavaScript. We'll say the description. Talk about JavaScript coding. And then we need created at. This will be a timestamp. Right now, 21:56 and 0 seconds. Cool. And if we look back at our app, we've got two items now. We're moving right along. Okay, let's do like 2 more. I don't want to manually type this all day. Technically, we could create like a JavaScript file that we run to like seed the database, but because this is like, at least for the app I'm building right now, mostly static data, like the subreddits for our app are not going to change, or like categories aren't going to change. I'm going to leave it as is. So ID is that. Name is, let's do pics. Description, share pictures here. Let's take a quick break. Yeah, and Kaizen in the chat did mention, I wish I knew of this like 3 weeks ago for the Vuexfire. I don't know though, like if you have an app in production, I don't know if you want to use it, mainly because like it's in alpha, and there are certain things that aren't supported just yet. What I'm doing, because I don't have any sub collections, everything's top level, it should work for my needs. But if you do have like sub collections, I don't know if it supports that very well. And then created app timestamp. Today, right now, 21:58 and 0 seconds. Cool. So we've got r/pics, r/JavaScript, r/general, and we'll do funny as the last thing. And Kaizen, while I'm thinking about that, well, I'm mainly adding the ID. So Kaizen mentions in the chat, I may be wrong, but I don't think you need to add the ID to the document to query it. I'm adding the ID there so that when I add the ID like on posts, I know which ID to add there. I guess technically I could just look at this ID here. Yeah. I think for the other things, I do need the ID to be there because I need to look at links for a given post, so I need the post ID, or sorry, comments for a given post, so I need the post ID, or votes for a given post, so I need the post ID. But I think you're right. It's not going to stop me from adding it, though, just because I added it on the other ones. But while I'm thinking about it, Kaizen, is there a way of generating IDs on the client side that you know of? Because for these documents, I actually want to generate their ID before I insert them, so that way I have a reference to it. Do you know if that's possible? ID is that. Name is funny. Oh no! Well, here's the great thing about it. I accidentally clicked enter, but inside of this editor, I can add a new field. So I want to add description. Funny things go here. And I also want to add created at. And this will be timestamp for right about now. 21:59. Cool. All right, we got some subreddits. We go back to our app. Look at that. All of our subreddits are there. So let's show a nice little list where we can click on the subreddits. I think for this, I'll use a menu. Pedro is asking, is timestamp a data type on other DBs? It depends on the database. MongoDB has a date type, and you can just set a date that has a given time associated with it. I think it also has timestamp, which might actually be just time without day. But then other databases have like date time, which would be like a timestamp. Yeah, it depends on the database. It really does. Rodrigo is saying generate the ID using the current timestamp number and will be unique because time is unique. I guess that's true. What I was thinking about using was this library called UUID. Yeah. Well, it's not a library, it's a specification. But this is a way of generating unique IDs that are like cryptographically random and pretty much guaranteed to be unique. So I think I might actually use this if there's not something built into like the Firebase SDK for generating it. My green screen is getting all weird. Let's see. Oh, not that. I didn't even recognize that. That's crazy. Why is that happening? Okay, let me adjust my green screen real quick because that's weird. Hey, that's a little better. Okay, cool. There's a little bit of things floating around, but that's better. Okay, so Kaizen is mentioning he used Unix time, which is like he generated his own unique ID. Cool. Yes, but let's show these subreddits not just as JSON and something like the user can click on. I think menu has a good, yeah, so this will give us like a nice menu of subreddits. Something like this. So on the subreddits page, instead of using a pre, let's show this aside. And really all we want is like a menu list like that. Get rid of everything else. And we want to repeat this list item for every subreddit in the subreddits array. So v4 subreddit in subreddits. And we need to give this a key. And that, I think this is also why I gave it an ID, so that I can give it a unique key that's not just the name. So because here we can do subreddit.id as the key for iteration. And then here we want to show subreddit.name. And that should do it. Look at that. Very nice. I guess we could technically, let's put a label at the top that just says like subreddits. Cool. James, I'm late. Can you start over, please? Who won the hockey game? I don't even know who was playing. I think you said it was like Vegas or something like that. Cool. Okay, so we're listing subreddits. Now we want to go to a specific subreddit. Let's look at our README with things that we need to do. So we added a few subreddits. We're showing the subreddits on the homepage. Now let's go to a single subreddit. So we're going to need a new route for that. And let's do this. The path will be r/, and then we'll parameterize it and be like name. So that the name of the subreddit that you want to go to. And the name of this will be individual subreddit, and we'll create a component called subreddit. So we need to bring that in also, just the non-plural version, and then we need to create it. So in our views, let's create a duplicate of this, but singular subreddit. And we need to grab the specific posts for a given subreddit. Right now, we can just show an h1 with route.params.name, because that should be the subreddit that they go to. And we're not going to do any initting. We might actually create a new submodule for this because we don't necessarily want to grab all subreddits. We'll see. Okay, and now we want to link to this. So on the subreddits page, this anchor tag should be a router link, which is built into a Vue router, and we can link to a specific route in the app. So we're going to say go to we want to go to the route whose name is subreddit, and the params we're going to give it, and let's make this easier to read. So new line, that, and the params are an object where name is subreddit.name. Okay, so now if you look in the bottom left, you might be able to see that takes us to like r/funny or r/pics or r/javascript or r/general. Cool. JT is mentioning, looks like the auto ID is generated by db.collection, name of the collection, and then .doc. Okay, maybe I'll do that. Yeah, I guess I could do that to get back the ID, and then when I do a set, I can set it with its ID. I think I'll probably do that. Okay, so awesome. So now we have pages that show individual subreddits. Let's look at our README. README. So now we're showing a single subreddit, but now we need a form so that we can create a post on a given subreddit. So let's do this. Let's think about the UI. I mean, technically, we could just put like a nice little form up top, and then you can like hide and show it to add a new item. Let's do that. Easy enough. So let's look at forms. If we look at, I realize I'm not even really using Vuexfire. Okay, we can use form controls for Vuexfire. So I want just a text input. Yeah, something like this. Should work. Okay, so they're always making that. I was curious how they were doing validation, because like this is always danger, so it's always red. Let's just do this. Okay. Name and input. So at the top of the individual subreddit page, we are going to have a nice little form. And I guess one thing we could do is we could put the subreddit name in the nav bar. But yeah. Hey, Mohammed, appreciate it. It says Mohammed says, keep up the good work. Thank you. Okay, let's do a nice little form right here. And do that, and do that. And, oh, this all needs to be, let's do this. Section. We'll put everything inside of that section. Okay. So if we look at the page, we see funny right there. That's fine. we'll fix it. And we have a B input for, let's say, like title of the thing that you're submitting. If we look at the Vuexfire docs, should everything, yeah, everything could just be in a B field. So we need title, we need description, and I guess this can be a text area. Do we have one of those? Yeah, something like that. How's this work? B input type equals text area. You can get rid of the value here. So title, description, we'll have URL, and this is just going to be a regular B input. Let's see what we got so far. Cool. Title, description, URL. What else do we have for a post? I guess technically we have image on there, but I think we'll only store URL, and then we can detect if it's an image URL, then actually display it. Otherwise, link to it. So yeah, we don't need image, but we have title, description, URL, and then we'll automatically add the user ID and the subreddit ID. Yeah. Let's take a quick stretch. So that should be it. Let's add a nice little button so we can submit the form. I guess we just do a button like we did before. So in elements and button, let's do a nice success button. I mean, technically this should be a form, right? And we could do a button that says submit or add post. What do we got? Cool. Click that, it submits the form. We will need to prevent the default action. Cool. So we can go to, let's say like r/funny. Let's work this out. So I think I am going to create a new Vuex submodule specifically for subreddit, because this will handle the submitting a link for a given subreddit and getting all the links for a given subreddit. So for now, though, I will have data on this component purely just for dealing with the form data, because I don't necessarily want to like fire off a mutation for everything that changes in this simple form. So let's just do data is a function that returns an object, and we're going to have post, and this will have title, starts off as empty, description, and then URL, and I think that's it. Cool. And we'll bind the form to that. So on this B input, we'll say v model is post.title. And on here, this will be post.description. And on the URL, this will be post.url. Now I believe these inputs you can say like required, so title is required, and then URL isn't necessarily required, because Reddit has this idea of self-posts, and a self-post can just be text. You don't necessarily have to link to something. So title is the only thing that is required. We could do some custom validation that says like either description or URL need to be defined, but they both can't be null. We'll probably do that. And then I believe here we can say type is URL, and the browser will validate that for us. Cool. And on the form, we'll say when this form is submitted, we want to add post, and we're going to pass in post. We'll say, let's call it on create post. So we'll define a method that does our validation, and then we'll send it off to the Vuexfire to actually create the thing. So on create post needs to be a method, and this is where we're actually going to do like the spread here. So we have our methods. We'll make this an object, and well, actually we don't need any actions right now, but we will soon, so we will have to use the spread. But right now we want to create on create post, and we don't necessarily have to pass in the post because we have access to it. So let's just do some quick client-side validation. We'll say if post.title and post.description or post.url. So either of those can be defined. Then we want to call like this dot create post with the post, and we'll like await that. And then when it's done, we'll clear out the form. So we need to create a submodule and then an action called create post, which will actually create it in the database. So let's create in our store. Let's copy this submodule because it's going to be very similar. We'll call this one subreddit. And on init, we are going to have posts, and we're going to bind posts, and really this is going to be db collection posts, and we probably want to pass in the name of the subreddit. We'll handle this in a second, but basically we need to find all the posts that have been created for this subreddit with this name, but we're not doing that just yet. Right now we want to create a post. So let's do create an action called create post. Takes in commit, and then we're actually going to pass in the post to be created. Actually, we don't believe we need any of that. We are going to make this async, and this is where we can access the post collection. So let's actually just store that as a variable. So we'll say posts is db.collection posts. And right here, we'll just say posts dot, this is where I actually want to do the ID. So post dot doc. And will this immediately return something, or do I have to await it? Let's try it out. So I did get the suggestion in the chat, like this will create a document and then we can actually get an ID, because that is the ID that I want to use when we insert it. So let's see what happens. We will import this submodule into our root store. So we're bringing in subreddits. We also need to bring in subreddit. Subreddit. And now that we're bringing it in, we need to bring in that action in the component. So in subreddit, we need to also map actions, and we'll go ahead and map state, but posts is, sorry, subreddit is the name of the submodule, and post is the data that we're mapping. But we also need to map actions from subreddit to create post. So we're bringing in the action we defined in here, create post, so that we can actually create the post. Right now we're not doing anything. I just want to see what actually gets generated whenever we do .doc. Like, do we get something back, or is it a promise? Do we got to wait for it? Let's see. I am awaiting, and I need to make it async. Let's make this async. Okay, so let's try to create something in general. Title, my first post. This is my first post. And we'll give it a URL. Add post. Oh, we need to prevent the default action. So on inside of the component here, we need to do submit.prevent, so it prevents the default action when we do that. If we look at our Firebase Firestore, okay, we don't have any posts, so I don't think that actually worked. Yeah, nothing happened just yet. It also looks like .id returns document names, so you don't need a field. So like after creating it, if I do .id, it will give me the ID. The main thing is I want access to it, so that way whenever we're adding a comment to a given post, I can put the post ID on there. Let's see what this actually returns though. And I think it's giving me a reference to a new document that hasn't been created yet. Test. This is a test. Add post. Post is not defined. What? Oh, probably this dot post. This dot post. And on all of these, it needs to be this dot post. We're doing some basic validation, and then we're calling create post. All right, let's try again. To general. Test. This is a test. Add post. Okay, so it does give me a document reference, and I do get an ID. That's what the documentation suggests. ID also returns document names, so you don't need a field. Let's go with this though, because that didn't have to be awaited or anything like that. So now in my store, we can create the post. So let's say like post.id is result.id, and then we'll say post.doc with post.id. Or I guess technically, could I put the properties on it and then save it? I don't know. Dot set, and we're going to set this to be the post. Assignment to property of a function parameter. That's okay with me. So we'll wait setting it. I think this will do it. Let's try. Test. This is a test. Add the post. Missing or insufficient permissions. Sweet. So now is the point where we need to update that. And also we were missing some values on there. So we have the form, but now we need to update the rules so that we allow users to actually create posts. So let's go back into our rules and do just that. So it's going to be similar to this. We want to match against posts / some posts ID and allow write if request.auth.id is equal to the thing that you're adding to the database. So with the rules, you have access to the incoming data. I believe I'll have to look it up, but we can say on this incoming data, is the user ID property set to the logged in user's ID. And we can actually set that whenever we're creating the thing. So let's figure out how to do that. Firestore rules. Writing conditions. Data validation. Resource dot data. So believe resource dot data is data that you're reading out of it. We want to look at data that you're writing to it. Securely query data. Let's look at resource.data. The Firestore document being read or written. I think that's what we want then. So here's our rule. We say allow write if request.authID is equal to resource.data.user_ID. So if they are trying to create a post where the user ID is their own ID, let them create it. Let them create it all day long. So now, before actually creating it, we need to be sure to set those properties. So in our Vue store for subreddit, before we set the post, we also want to set user ID to be the user ID. We also want to set created at to be created at. What were our other properties? User ID, subreddit ID. So we need to add the specific subreddit that you're adding it to, and created and updated at, which will right now be exactly the same. So created at, updated at, and we also need to set the subreddit ID. Let's set that when we're passing it in, because we'll need to know that. Let's take a quick stretch. Okay, so here's the deal. When we create this on the given subreddit page, we need to know which subreddit we're on. So let's do this. In the store, let's create a property for subreddit. Initially, this is an empty object. And when you call init, we're going to set, you're going to pass in, you're going to pass in the name to get that specific subreddit. So let's do this. We'll say subreddit will be db.collection subreddits, where name is equal to the given name that you pass in on init. So that will set the subreddit. I want to actually set this to have the subreddit ID. Let's do this. So we'll have an init subreddit, and then we'll also have an init posts, and that will take in the subreddit ID. So this will be very similar. This will be init posts, but instead of passing in the name, you're going to pass in the subreddit ID. And we want to grab from the posts collection. Well, we're going to set posts on our data from the post collection where apologies, where subreddit ID is equal to that given subreddit ID. What's this complaining about? camel case. No, I'm going to keep it as camel case. Okay, so we have these two actions, and now we need to actually call these actions when the subreddit page loads so that we have access to the subreddit ID. So on the subreddit page, when it's mounted, we have access to the name. So we also want to map, so we have create post, but we also want init subreddit. And we also want init posts. So we'll call when it's mounted this dot init subreddit with this dot route dot name dot params dot name, because when you load this specific subreddit, the params are going to have the name of this given subreddit, and so we'll init the subreddit to the one that has that given name. And let's also bring in subreddit here. And now, instead of pulling from the name, let's just pull from subreddit.name. And if all went right, when we go to general, it does not work. Let's look at our Vuexfire. So if we look at subreddit, I see. We get an array, and we need to set it to the very first one. Let's do this. In our store, we'll have, let's call this subreddits, and that will be equal to the array. So let's set subreddits. It's going to be an array of length 1. Porcupine, welcome. Finally caught a live stream in New Zealand. That's awesome. That's what NZ stand for, I think. Hello, welcome. So we're going to set subreddits, but then we'll just have a simple getter that returns the first subreddit in the array. So getters, and we'll have a getter called subreddit. I believe you have access to the state. I'll have to look up the syntax for getters. But subreddit is a getter that has access to the state. And we'll say if subreddits at 0, then return subreddits at 0. Otherwise, send back an empty object. Let's look up getters on the Vuex docs real quick. Here, getters. Yeah, so getters take in the state and return some value from the state. So we're going to be returning one specific subreddit from that array. We'll pass in our getters, and then in this specific component, we need to bring in getters as well. So we'll also bring in map getters here. And now on our computed, we're actually going to have multiple things. So this is what Kaizen had mentioned earlier, like how do you bring in multiple things? This is where we'll do the object spread. So we want to map state, but we also want to map getters. And we want to bring in the subreddit getter. And then now we no longer need to bring in subreddits there. Okay, so subreddit.name. So if we go to general, everything breaks. Subreddits is not defined. Where was I trying to access that? In the wrapped getter. Oh, it needs to be state.subreddit here. State.subreddits. Right, if we go to general. Unknown getter subreddit / subreddit. Oh, I put 2 B's in it. general. Hey, so now we're grabbing that specific one, which means we now have access to the ID on create. So in here, we have access to the context in the action. And I believe context.state on the action will give us access to state so that we can get the actual subreddit ID, which is the whole reason we did all of this. Let's look at actions. So actions take in the context. You can do context.commit. Can you do context.state? Oh, James caught it. I had an extra B. Yeah, so you do, oh, it's a separate param. So we actually just want state. So here we go. Post.subreddit ID is going to be state.subreddit.id. Cool. Created app, that's going to be the timestamps thing. I believe we did that on login, so let's copy that. Yes, this. Really, this should be updated at, right? Because this is overwriting it every time we log in. Forget about it. We'll come back to it. So on, where was I? What did I just copy? Losing my mind. Okay. Oh yeah, we wanted timestamps. Did I copy that? So on this, created at will be that, updated at will be that, and now we need the user ID. I believe we can have direct access to the currently logged in user. Paradise Blood is asking, do I play video games? Not much. I watch a lot of video games, actually. I was watching, I like to watch Fortnite on Twitch. I watched a lot of Ninja and Dr. Lupo. And earlier today, Ninja tried out, there's a new game. It's very similar to Fortnite. Realm Royale. And I really want to try this out. It's free to play. It's like a battle royale game, but it's like medieval themed. And basically you get put on a map with like 100 other people. It's duos or squads. And you have to run around to collect loot. There's different classes and different things of like leveling up. It looks super fun and it's free to play. It's like in alpha right now, but that's something I want to check out. And I actually do play, I haven't recently, but I do like playing Rocket League too. You can find me on Steam. I'm W3CJ on Steam if you want to add me there. And I accidentally just exited Chrome. Okay. We need access to the current user. I believe I had some stuff in here about being logged in and getting the current user. Technically, we could like bring in the root store and get access to its state. I don't think I want to do that. Rohan is saying E3 incoming. Oh yeah, the huge gaming event. What does E3 stand for? The E3 Expo. Yeah, that is next week. And so James is like, I don't play video games, but like I don't like, and I'm horrible at them. Like I'm like solidly mediocre at Rocket League, but other than that, like my reaction times are horrible. I'm not any good at first person shooters. I don't know. Okay. We want the currently logged in user. I don't know the best way to get it, but Firebase auth does provide it. So if we look at I believe this managing users, Firebase.auth.current user will give us the very current user. Let's try it. Okay, so in that specific submodule, we're going to bring in auth @/auth. And right here, we're going to say oh, I guess we don't need to bring in auth. Never mind. Don't bring in auth. We can just do because we already have Firebase in this file. Firebase.auth.currentUser. Let's log what this is right now, because this, I don't think this is the current user that's actually in our store. Firebase is not defined. What? Oh, okay. So we need to bring in Firebase too. But I don't know if this is the actual user that's stored in our store, or is this the user as it exists inside of Firebase, which is what I think it actually is. Which is okay, because we can still get the user ID from that. Okay, we want to import Firebase from Firebase. All right, let's see what happens. Basically, I just want to see the user logged. All right, no whammies, no whammies. Test. This is a test. Add the post. Cannot read property ID of undefined. We'll come back to that. Yeah, so it's this whole thing, but we do have access to UID. So we can do this. So user ID is going to be Firebase auth current user.uid. And we attempted to create a document. Let's see if we get an error again. One thing I just remembered though, because we're creating this collection, well, a reference to the collection out here, down here, we can just say posts instead of db.collection. Posts. Quick stretch. Okay, let's see if we get an error. So let's go home. Let's go into general, test. This is a test. Cannot read property ID of undefined. I'm curious which ID it is, because I'm trying to access ID twice. State.subreddit. Bijo, welcome. JT is asking, is it a function call to get current user? I think this one's okay. It's either one of these two that's breaking. I'm pretty sure that's how you get access to state in an action. Let's double check. Yeah, so you have an action, you can get state, you can access the current values of state, and then you get some parameter that's passed in. In this case, we're passing in the post to create. So I think that's okay. Maybe result is not getting created. Oh! I need getters. That's why. Because subreddit is not on state. Subreddit is on getters. Yeah, so technically that is an array. I could do like bracket 0, but let's use getters. I think I can do context.getters. So I can bring it. So instead of bringing in state, we'll bring in the getters, and we'll say getters.subreddit.id. That's the winner. Okay. Moment of truth. Test. This is a test. Add the post. Missing or insufficient permissions. Oh, you can't do this.getters? You might. Oh, yeah, I guess I could. If I used a fat arrow, I don't think I could, but yeah, I could have used this.getters there. Okay, let's make sure that our rules here are correct. So right now we're writing to set posts.doc at post ID. And we're setting the post. User ID is getting set to the user ID. Let's just log this post. Make sure we know what we're actually creating. Let's comment out the insert for now. General test. This is a test. Okay. Created at URL. This is a test. So ID, subreddit ID, user ID. Let's double check our rules. Request.auth.uid is equal to resource.data.userid. Wait, why did I get that error though? I'm not even running not even running the insert just yet. So if we look in our database, we can double check. Let's double check like the user ID. So on users, UID is EP2. That looks right. CJ is crushing it. I don't know. This is taking me a while. I always get so confident. I'm like, done. I'm gonna be done. Maybe not. We're doing lots of cool things though. Like we've got Vuex submodules, like for Vuexfire. We have real-time sync. Like so here's the cool thing. Like on the homepage, on subreddits. This is syncing in real time. If we were to add a new subreddit, then it would instantly appear. And right now we're working on creating a new post. We don't have any posts yet. And I hope that I can create the rules that I'm trying to create. I guess one thing that I will mention is like one resource that I've been using is this Angular Firebase website. This guy has several videos up on YouTube. And it's pretty much the best resource I've found for dealing with Firestore. And he actually talks about rules. He had one video on how to hack a Firestore database, and that's where I learned quite a bit about the rules that we can use. Let's search for that real quick. We're gonna watch a YouTube video live on stream. Let's do Firestore hack. How to hack a Firebase app. Let me make sure my screen is muted.
I can hack into your Firebase app in about 10 seconds, then steal and delete all your data, assuming you fail to set up backend security rules.
Let's look at this specific lesson, because he did have for accessing like the incoming incoming data, request.resource.data. Is that what I was using? No, I was using resource. So I want request. Wait. .resource.data. Maybe that's the same thing. .user ID. So if the incoming data's user ID is equal to the currently logged in user's ID, then let them write that. Okay, let's cross our fingers. Let's see what happens. And I think I need to uncomment the actual write. YouTubeception, yeah. Props to everyone else out there on YouTube making tutorials, because that's where I learned too. Absolutely. Okay, so in the store, we do want to try to do this now. If this works, I'm gonna be so happy. I'm gonna be motivated to just power through the rest of this app. Let's see what happens. Okay. Where's my app? Did I close it? Oh, I put it in a new tab. There you are. Come back. Okay. Test. This is a test. Hey, no error. Let's check our Firebase console. my mouse. There it is. It didn't work. Huh. Is it actually running? Let's do this. We're going to put this in a try catch. Try catch. So if we get a result, oh. Okay. We'll log that. Otherwise, we'll log an error with the given error. I've got some linting rules that I probably should fix, but regardless. Okay. Let's go to general. Let's create test. This is a test. Add post. Undefined on line 26. Oh, I just needed to refresh the page. Ta-da. Okay. That actually worked. That's great. That's beautiful. So now we need to actually query for posts. I think that's the thing. If you're looking at this and you create a new collection, it doesn't automatically pop up. But if you create new documents, they do pop up. But it's working, and we're protected. Because of this rule, you cannot modify posts that other users have created. Wait, or can you? I think I just thought of a loophole in this. What if they're overwriting an existing post? Allow write if request is that, and allow update. Here we go. We also need an update. Well, not allow write. Allow create if that, and allow update if not the incoming data, but the existing data. I believe just resource.data. We can look back over here. Existing data is resource. Okay, I think I fixed my loophole. So you can create this thing when if your ID is equal to the given user ID, but you can only update it if the existing user ID on that document is equal to your user ID. There we go. Publish those. Cool. Ta-da emojis, fires, flames, smileys. Everybody's excited. Cool. Oh yeah, and Derek Kramer was asking about async await. Once you get used to it, it's a really beautiful thing. It makes your code look cleaner. It's less like nested functions. Yeah, definitely check out Wesboss's keynote on that he did. Okay, we're making posts all day long. Let's actually list those posts out on the page. And then I think I might deploy this, because then you guys can like add posts for all kinds of things. And then let's do this. So yeah, because if we look in our collection, we are setting subreddit ID. So both of these are in general, and if we look at the one for general, it has an ID of IKEWXLB, cool. But these have a subreddit ID of that exact same ID. So we need to call init posts, but we really need to call this whenever the subreddit changes. So let's do this. In our component for a single subreddit, let's actually watch subreddit. When subreddit changes, we're going to call init posts with the subreddit's ID. Let's do this. So we're going to watch subreddit. And when subreddit changes, we want to call init posts with this.subreddit.id. And then, just for kicks, right below the form, let's throw a pre-tag with all of the posts. Heyo! Make sure there are no errors. Okay, there's an error. Error in callback for watcher subreddit. Function query where requires a valid third argument, but it was undefined. Oh, okay. We only want to call this if subreddit.id actually exists. So if subreddit.id, we'll do this. I guess the other thing is, instead of just calling this on mounted, well, we'll call it once on mounted, but if the URL changes, route.params.name, if that changes, then technically we want to call init subreddit with whatever it changed to. So that way, like if the user just changes the subreddit in the URL bar, everything works great. Oh, Pijo says he's been using now deployment. That's awesome. It's probably what I'll use to deploy this thingy. Okay. Refresh. Everything's great. We go to general. We see the post there. We go back. We go to r/JavaScript. We say use async. Oh, wait. It is fun. Add posts. It shows up there. But if we go back and we click on general, then we only see the post for general. This is beautiful. It's working. If we go to pics, this is the, I don't know what. Oh, this is the JavaScript logo. Let's just grab that real quick. This one. Copy image address. We'll throw that in the URL. We'll add the post, and it's there. And it's pretty much working. We'll make the UI look good so that it actually looks like Reddit posts below. But this is looking good. There's nothing in r/funny. If we go to pics, that's there. Cool. I'm liking this. Let's add a nice little hide show of this form here. Quick stretch. I will say I have been streaming for 2.5 hours. Let's just assess real quick and see how far we've actually gotten on here. So we have a new post form. We will display the posts on the subreddit page. Great. And then we need to be able to upvote and downvote rule posts. Because I've been streaming so long, I guess I always do this. Like I never finish what I want to. But I think I'm gonna finish after adding upvoting and downvoting. Maybe I'll add comments. I'll do one of these two, and then I'll end it for tonight. We have another stream where we can add more things to it, but I definitely want to deploy this so everyone out there watching can give it a try and add things to it and stuff like that. Okay. One thing is, though, in here, let's stop logging that. Cool. So, Derek says, great work is never finished, only abandoned. Yes, but I keep doing these really long streams where I say I'm going to finish the thing and then I never do. Please don't hate me for it. Okay, so let's show the posts on the page in a nice, presentable format. And then let's make it so you can add comments. We won't add upvotes, downvotes just yet. We'll make it so you can add comments. That way, at least we can see some interaction on the site, and then I'll call it quits there. But one thing is, I do want us to do like a hide show of the form. So let's say submit post, or we'll say, yeah. Show post form. At click, we're going to say, we'll have something simple on our data. Show form equals not show form. We'll put show form on our data. This initially will be false. And then we'll call this toggle form. And we'll make this a primary button. So by default, we only want to show this form. So v-if show form. So by default, it's not there. But if we toggle it, it's there. If we toggle it, it's gone. That's great. All right, let's find a UI element so we can actually display the things from the actual posts on the subreddit. If we look at Bulma, look at like, not necessarily image components. Is there like a media component? I guess technically we could do cards. That's original, right? Stream idea implementing OAuth flow in Node Express. Funny you mentioned that. I tried to do that on the live stream, and pretty much the 8-hour one, it was just 8 hours of me implementing OAuth flow. I can do it in less. I really feel like I can. But yeah, definitely if you're in the Discord channel, add a link there. I guess we could do this. Like, we don't have to look exactly like Reddit, right? We could have just like cards across with each individual post, and then you can click to go into them. I think that's okay. Maybe let's look around a little bit. I mean, because this would be cool to show like the image there. We do need to know the dimensions. Okay, let's look. Elements, content, layout, media object. Hey, this is what we want. I think this is what we want. Yeah, because we could show like a thumbnail of the image that they submitted and then like the title right here. That's what we'll do. Show the code. That's a lot of code. Oh, but it has like all these icons. That's cool that we could show like the upvotes and the downvotes right there. Yeah, I'm about it. All right, let's use it. So right here where we have the posts, we're going to have this big old thingy. Whoa. Really should be creating like a subcomponent. I'm too tired. I'm almost 3 hours in. Okay. Right here, the image, let's not set it to 64 by 64 because it may not be that size. I think it does width 100%. Let's just do this. We're going to repeat this article for every post in posts. And the key is going to be the post.id. And then right here, this will be post.url. Really, we need some logic, though, like to detect if this is an image. Media left. So we'll do that in a second. I think right now on the page that we're showing, it is an image. URL in JavaScript. Oh, I need to bind it. Sorry. Let's look at our database. URL in r/JavaScript is the actual PNG, so that should show up. It's not, but that's okay. Let's show the title of the post right here. So this is going to be post.title. And then we can show the post.description if it exists. Use async await. It is fun. We don't want to have a close button. We don't really have any icons. We'll come back to that. We don't want a close button. Okay, that's great. Let's see, why is my image not showing up? P. Media left. P. Source unknown. Let's see what I'm setting at in the database. URL. And if we look in the Vuexstore, Vuex. So for the given subreddit, oh, it doesn't have an image. Or does, no, we're looking at posts. That's why there is no image. But if we go to r/pics, there is, and it's gigantic. So let's create like a custom class for that. Right now it has nothing on it, but let's give this a class of post-image. And we will add styles to this component. Post image will have a width, we'll say, of 10% and a height of auto. Why is this so far away? Let's see. I think we do need to make it class image. Let's look at Bulma again. Div class image. Let's do that. And the image goes on the p tag, I think. Yeah, image goes on p tag. Okay. Let's see what's happening with this image. It is being overwritten. So really, we just want to target it with that image. Why is it so far off? I honestly might just do a card because this is getting weird. It's getting very weird. Why is it so far away? Width, 10%. Okay, the P, is this part of a flexbox? Let's see. Media left is a flexbox. Media content, flex01, media left. I don't feel like messing with this. We're gonna use a card. Let's just use a card. Yeah, we'll use a card. components, card, this thingy. I mean, I hope this will be better. I think the main thing is I have not worked with Bulma that much. So, I mean, I could figure it out. It just takes a bit of digging to really mess with the styles. Okay, this is where we want to put the URL. And we want to repeat this. Post in posts. And the key will be post.id. And right about here is where we'll put the title of the post. And right about here is where we'll put the description. And right about here is where we'll put created at. That is gigantic. Are we binding the image? We need to bind that. I guess the only thing about this though is image is 4x3. Let's see what happens if I get rid of that. Decent. I think I'm okay with that. We could make this 100% width. Is it though? Let's get rid of our style that we created because that's actually being overwritten right now. Because otherwise it should be, if we go to pics, it is 100%, but let's make this a grid system and be like 4 across or something like that. So if we look at layout, we'll actually have to get that from Bulma. If we look at layout, take a quick break. That's not the avatar. I'm looking at like a post that has like an image URL associated with it. One thing we'll have to do is like pull the users in so we can grab their images as well. Okay, if we look for columns, basics, div class columns, add as many column elements as you want. But what if I want to, I want to use sizes. Is 4/5? Okay, the 12 column system. That's what I want. So I should be able to do column is 4. Oh, for the media object, the image I was using was the avatar. I don't think so. I think earlier I was setting URL as the like the media left image. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Let's make this work. Okay, so we can have a parent container here with class of columns, and we'll do column. On this given card, we'll say column that there. Oh. That. And then this will be column is 4. Take up 4. Cool. What's up with that weird spacing? Oh, and the CSS formatting. I guess that could have been why it was so far offset. I was looking at the wrong image, maybe? Yep. Okay, so that works. And if we go to something like general, which has multiple, you see it like that. That's great. Let's figure out why. why is the div class columns margin top has a negative margin for whatever reason? Wonder why that is. I don't like that. Let's overwrite it. Let's call this posts. And let's say posts has a margin top of 2ems. Hey, that's cool. Okay. Let's do like a quick little check here. Let's have a method that determines if that URL is an image, and if it is, it shows the image. If it's not, it doesn't. So we'll do a method here, is image, given some URL. And return, does that URL match the regular expression of, does it end with PNG or put sign, so PNG or JPG or JPEG or GIF end. So does it end with that? Then we'll actually show that. So we'll say if is image right here. Post. If the post is an image, let's see what's happening. It broke. Post.url is what I need to pass in. So if we go to r/javascript, it's not an image, so we don't see that. This will be like the user's avatar eventually. And then if we go to r/pics, it is an image, so we see that. Cool. If we go to general, it's working. Julian, welcome to the stream. I've been coding a long time. I've been coding a very long time. Okay. The dates aren't formatted. We're not actually showing the username. There's definitely going to be a part 2 of this. Let's look back at the README. So we're just displaying the posts. We basically are showing, like, if it's an image, we showed it. If not, we don't. Well, I guess one thing we should do, though, is if it's not an image, we should show a link so that you can link out to it. So let's do this. Well, no, let's just do this. So if there is a URL, then we'll add an anchor tag. So we'll do this. Vif post.url doesn't exist. So if there's no URL associated with it, just show the title, because this would be like a self post. But then if there is a URL, we want an anchor tag to wrap the title. And this is going to link out to post.url, and we'll say target is blank. So though neither of those have a link, but in JavaScript, that doesn't have a link either. Did I add a link? Yeah, this should just link out to the image itself. Cool. Ray says, you have amazing stamina coding for hours live. Thank you. I appreciate that. I am about to hit the 3-hour mark, though. Oh no. YouTube says 2 hours and 44 minutes. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's obnoxiously loud motorcycles outside my window. OBS says 2 hours and 56 minutes. Regardless, let's finish some things up. If image does not exist, render the alternate version of some image. I think the thing to think about, though, is like you can add something that doesn't necessarily have an image. So like, let's say I want to link to Wikipedia for JavaScript. I guess eventually we could get complex with it and like use like an embed service that like takes a snapshot of the web page or something like that. But let's say the title is Checkout JS on Wikipedia. No description, and we throw the URL in there. If I add this post, now it's just this, and I should click that. I think I see what you're saying though, Rodrigo. Like, it if there is no image, show a placeholder image. That works. Cool. All right. Back on track. Okay. It's ugly though. It's ugly. I want to actually display the date. We could bring in like a date formatting library. I should actually be displaying the username that posted it. But then that means we have to actually get the users collection. Kaizen says, move image assets to Firebase storage and allow upload to check extensions. I'm going to add that to the stretch because I have thought about that too, because right now you can just post like a link to an existing image, but oh, I see what you're saying, Rodrigo. Like if they post something that just doesn't exist at all, then show like an error message. I see. But yes, that's like a future stretch. Upload images to Firebase storage. Is that what it's called? I'll also add that as a stretch, Rodrigo. Display error image if bad link or error. Something like that. Okay. I have been coding a long time. I don't want to just end on a note. Like, I want to actually, like, put this out there. I think here's what I'll do. Yeah, I will deploy this right now. And just the few of you outsource. Yeah, I think honestly I should, like basically the stream is me like building the thing, and then we like can open issues on GitHub and like work on it together. I think, is that what you mean by outsource it, Kaizen? Let me do this. I'm just going to deploy. I'm going to deploy right now, and I would like you, at least 3 or 4 of you that are out there watching right now, to start adding links. So let's do this. Add everything. I think I honestly haven't committed this whole time. What is wrong with me? Add client. Push it up to GitHub. We'll do an npm run build. No, we won't. We'll cd into the Reddit client folder and do an npm run build. I appreciate every single one of you. Some of you have been here since the beginning of this live stream, and I've been streaming for a very long time. Okay, we built the app. Now let's go into the dist folder, and we'll deploy it with now. Did we decide we were going to call this Seedling? I think I like that name. Let's see if Seedling is available as an alias. It's stuck. It's stuck on something. Oh, it could be the JavaScript map files that are so big. Is it creating map files? No. Oh! Okay, I was about to say, I am in the dist folder. Derek is asking, did anyone make it start to finish during the 8-hour marathon? I did. Yeah, I think that's the main thing. Like, most people are watching from a very different time zone, and so, yeah, I think like even right now, for you, Kaizen. Oh, you got up really early. Okay, it finally deployed. I don't know why that took so long. Now let's try to alias it. That to seedling. Is it available? It's available. Ooh, that's awesome. That's a nice little domain. Hey. Definitely. So Borislav just asked in the chat. Any way to view the whole live videos after this? Yeah, absolutely. At this exact same URL, the moment I'm done streaming, this whole video will be available. It may not be listed on YouTube, but after an hour or so, it will be listed on YouTube, and you can watch it anytime you want. Okay, it's live. Go log in. Add links. It's totally not finished, so I'm gonna do like a... Oh, dang. Did something break? Unhandled promise rejection. Oh! Oh, okay. I'll fix this. This domain is not authorized to run this operation, so I actually need to add this domain to my Firebase auth. Let's do that. Authentication. Sign in method. Add domain. Add. Okay, try now. Okay, it should be working now. I had to add the domain. I guess I'm not storing any sensitive information in the user's database. Yeah, I'm not storing your email or anything like that, just your name. So actually, as any of you try to log in, I should be able to actually see your users pop up in that collection. Let's take a look. If we go to database, users. All right, we got a couple users. Derek Kramer, there you are. Nathan. Someone's Nathan. There's Kaizen and Rodrigo. Ah, cool. And we could probably see potentially posts popping up. It's super cool. I think maybe I would like to add just like a list of all users page or something like that. I really need to do a part 2, definitely. Title. Why did the chicken cross the road? Description. To get to the other side. Cool. Is anyone attempting to... Paradise Blood is Nathan. Totally forgot. So in r/JavaScript, this is not breaking the internet. Cool. Very cool. Oh no, don't add more than one. Oh, one thing is I'm not clearing out the form. I should clear out the form. Yeah, and I haven't added the names yet. Right now, everyone is John Smith. I haven't added adding the actual usernames. Let's do this though. Can someone out there in the world add something to general? Because we should see it pop up the moment you add it to general. There's something new in r/pix. I'll wait on general. Somebody add something to general. Oh, they're not wrapping? Do they just keep going? I'll probably have to add like a wrap property. Yeah, okay, I have to add a wrap property. View! And that links out just, oh, that's just the Vue.js image. Very cool. Awesome! That's great. Let's see if we can get the columns to wrap. Let's look in Vuexfire. Oh, let's go to pics. Okay, I'll go there. Let's do this. Subreddits, pics. Hey, look at that! Coding Garden with CJ. Very cool. Thanks. I'm gonna make these wrap and then I'm gonna call it there. But I will come back to finish out this. I mean, even though I didn't finish the whole thing, you got a really good idea of first implementing auth, second integrating Vuex with all of this and having like a real-time synced collection, third also setting up rules so that our database is secure and not everyone can just read and write everything. Oh, look, there's tons of posts happening. That's great. Let's see where else. In pics, in funny, in general. It's probably because I can't see them. Let me see if I can make them wrap really quick. Nesting columns, options, is multi-line. I think that's the one I want. Let's try that. The interesting thing is my clients, locally on my machine, it's looking at the exact same database. So if I look at like localhost, they're showing up there too. Actually, I'm a little bit zoomed in. But I think this will fix it. So on an individual subreddit, columns is multi-line. Hey, nice. Cool. I think let's fix some things real quick. Like on the form, I should actually clear it out and hide the form the moment you add something so you don't add it twice. Let's do that. So we're actually, if we look at our create post, we are waiting for the thing to finish creating. Actually, though, we don't really need to wait for it. We'll just submit it and then hide the form. So we'll say this dot create post, and then this dot post equals like the empty state, so it like clears out the form. And then we'll say this dot show form is false. Okay, so the moment you create something, this is new, or let's say, check this out. Let's grab a cool little jiffy. JT is asking, does it let you submit an empty post? I have basic validation, so you must have a title, a description, and a URL. You can, however, do server-side validation as well. So in your rules, you have access to the incoming data, so you can actually look at individual properties and reject inserting with empty values. Fun. That's a good one. Okay. Oh, it broke. I think it's not the right jiffy. Copy image address. But now I think that's what I was testing. The form actually closes. Can you see this? I guess no, you can't. But let's try to submit an empty post. Yeah, so that's like browser required, and then I have JavaScript checking for it. But technically, someone could go around this and submit an empty post because we don't have server-side rules, but you can add a rule that would validate the data as well. Okay, I think I'm going to call it there. Yet again, I have disappointed myself. I have disappointed you. I didn't finish all the things I said I was going to do, but we coded a lot. And yeah, these are all future implementations. I'll also add some notes like show usernames, show user avatars, user images. We need to format the dates. What else? See funny. Okay, let's go look at r/funny. Nice. This is what CJ looks like coding today. Where'd you grab that image from? Yeah, for whatever reason, the jiffies that I was grabbing, I didn't get the right URL. But okay, here's what I'll do. Quick high-level overview of the things that we did, and then I'll call it quits and continue this some other time. Okay. Let's close all our things. All right. At the top level, we have Firebase.js. This is the configuration of Firebase that actually connects to the database, and also is in charge of doing like the auth stuff. So this one file configures Firebase, and then we export Firebase from here, and anywhere else we need to use Firebase, we just import this one Firebase instance. Specifically, we're using Firestore. So to create a connection to Firestore, you say firebase.firestore. That creates a connection to the DB, and we're storing that in this one file, so that way anywhere else we need it, we call in this one file. Great. In terms of auth, so on our navbar, we have a login button and then a logout button if you are logged in. But when you click login, that triggers an action in the store. So our store has multiple modules inside of it. So we have our auth module, we have subreddits, which lists all of the subreddit, and then subreddit, which lists an individual subreddit. So if you go into the auth module, this is in charge of setting the state of the currently logged in user and whether or not they're logged in. So it has an action login that first grabs the Google auth provider and then just calls sign in with pop-up. So when you call this, that's what opens that new window to allow you to log in with Google. And then we also have a logout method that just calls logout. Now, Firebase also provides events so we can listen for whenever auth state changes. Because the idea is when you click login for the first time, this event will get fired, and then we actually commit a mutation to the store to update the currently logged in user. However, when you first load the page, if you're already logged in, this event will also fire. So basically, this is when the page first loads, you're logged in, or when you're clicking the login button, you get logged in. And this thing is just sitting there waiting for something to happen. And also, if you log out, this is setting the user to be null. Okay, if we look at our subreddits.view, this is this. And this is just a list of all the subreddits. If we look in the database, we have a collection of subreddits. And right now, we're not allowing people to create them. Link back to subreddits. You know what I'll do is in the homepage, or in the, sorry for like detouring while giving this tour. In the navbar, instead of linking there, let's link to subreddits. And honestly, yeah, on the homepage, let's not link to login. Let's just call this subreddits, because login will be in the navbar anyways. Or we could just make subreddits on the homepage. I don't know. This will be fine. We'll make this primary button. And this will be a router link. And this will go to the route with the name of subreddits. Oh, that didn't update. This needs to be a router link. Yeah. And now we don't need any JavaScript on our home page. Oh, because I'm already logged in. But if I log out and I visit the website, now I just have a button that says View Subreddits, and I totally can. Oh! Yeah, so that fixed that. One thing we should do is we should not even show this form if they're not logged in. Okay, I'll add that to the README because I'm pretty much done coding, but we'll say hide submit form if not logged in. The beautiful thing about it, though, is because of our database rules, because I'm not logged in right now, if I try to do something, promise rejection, well, that's mainly because I'm not logged in, so it can't set the user ID, but it wouldn't be able to because the user isn't logged in at all, so that's fine. Cool. So that was a quick little fix there. And on the subreddits page, we're basically just showing a list of all the subreddits, and this is pulling in the subreddits from Vuexfire. So we are actually using, if we look at our root store, we have also this subreddits submodule. We are using Vuexfire, which right now is in alpha, but this allows you to sync state in your Vuex store with a Firebase collection. Part of setting it up is just setting Firebase mutations, but inside of the subreddits module, we define our state to just be an empty array, and then we have this init action which binds subreddits to the actual collection on Firestore. So by doing this, now anytime a new subreddit is added, it'll instantly pop up in that list. Done. And so on that component, whenever it's mounted, we call init, which loads all those subreddits. Oh yeah, good call, JT. So we another stretch is to show most recent post time on the subreddits page. Really, like, we want to order by submitted and posts and number of votes. Do I have that here anywhere? Order by total score. Also, like, order by created, potentially. So the way Reddit actually works, though, is like new posts aren't necessarily at the top until people start upvoting them. So we could put, I don't know, maybe we could be an option like sort by votes or sort by created. Because on Reddit, you can actually say show only like new posts. You can say like new. And this is by like most recently created. Yeah. So sorting and then also filtering is on the stretch as well. Okay. But on this component, when it's mounted, we call init which is a Vuex action that actually binds subreddits to the collection on Firestore. So that's great. And then on a given subreddit, you can click on it, and that goes to the individual subreddit route. In here, whenever it's mounted, we grab the subreddit that has the name of the URL. So you'll notice, like when I click r/general, the URL has general in it. So the state, or the Vuex store says, please give me the subreddit that has the name general. And then with that ID, it requests all posts that have that subreddit ID and then loads them here. So our, let's look at the state first. So if we look at subreddit state, it has an array of subreddits and an array of posts. We have a simple getter that just grabs the first subreddit in that array because our binding is to a query. So instead of just getting all of the subreddits, this is specifically getting the subreddit where the name is that given name and just grabbing the first one. And then posts is a binding to posts where subreddit ID is the given subreddit ID. So the cool thing about this is like this is bound to the Firestore collection, but it's only going to see the latest things if if that subreddit with that ID was the thing that actually updated. So that's great. And then we have also an action to create a post. I'll talk about that in a second. But in the component itself for subreddit, when it's mounted, we grab the subreddit with that name. We listen for when the subreddit changes. We're watching it. And if it changes, we'll init posts with that given subreddit's ID. We do have a form, so we just have some internal component state to handle the form data. And then a simple little method to detect if something is an image to decide to hide or show it. And then a function that will get called when the form is submitted that calls create post, which is the action that we saw inside of the store. And to create a document is fairly simple. You have a reference to the collection on Firebase. In my case, I wanted to specify the doc ID myself, so you say doc, and then you say set, and it's going to pass in that data to actually set there. That's pretty much it. One thing we are doing is setting the user ID of the given post to be the user that's logged in, and then we have some rules that say the given post can only be created with the user ID of the logged in user, and then a given existing post can only be updated by the user that created it. So we have some simple rules in there. I think that's it. Thanks everyone so much for watching. There's still quite a few of you out there. That's crazy. But yeah, thanks so much. I will push and deploy this code and then call it quits for tonight. But this was a fun time. Ta-da! No, sparkles. Fix styling. Clear form. Push. npm run build. Oh no. cd into Reddit client. npm run build. Thanks. Yeah, I'll definitely get some rest. I'm taking a break tomorrow and Saturday, but Sunday I will be back for morning tea. And I guess I don't have it scheduled yet, but I will. I will schedule another live stream where I finish this up and we add more features to it. Let's just deploy it one last time. There we go. We're on the internet. It's nice and working. Decent. Cool. Awesome. William, I don't think I saw you in the chat, but yeah, I'll see you. Bye. Porcupine, I'll see you. Rodrigo, JT, Kaizen, Derek. All right, let me full screen my chat so I can thank every single one of you. You've been with me the whole time. Okay, let's see who else. Paradise Blood, thanks for tuning in. Borislav, if you're still out there. Ray, if you're still out there, thanks for tuning in. Shulian, if you're still out there. Some of you are probably sleeping by now, but Pijo, thanks for tuning in. Rohit, thank you. James, he's probably off watching sports, but thanks for tuning in. Rohan, thanks for tuning in. Mohammed. Hopefully I didn't insinuate. I need to write a program that shows me the unique names in the chat so I can thank everybody. Derek, thanks for tuning in. Scratchbook. I didn't see you, but yeah, thanks for tuning in. Sharon, thanks for tuning in. Amal, there were a lot of you. Wow. Andreas, thanks for tuning in. Daniel, and another Daniel. Smurf, Sanjay, you all are awesome. Just make sure. Poor Coder, thanks for tuning in. All right, have a great night, or a morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for sticking with me. The code is up. I'll post the link to the deployed site, and we will finish this in a future episode. Why did I do that? I never do that. I don't know. It's in the chat. See you later, Rohan. See ya. Here is this.